Hi guys, it's Jess from HonestFiction and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be sharing my October TBR. Alright guys, so I am filming this on the first official day of fall, which means it is now my favorite season ever. I love everything about the fall. I love going apple picking, pumpkin picking. I love wearing like super chunky Gilmore Girl type sweaters and leggings, and just everything about the fall is just magical. And I am so excited. So I'm very excited about this TBR. I have a bunch of read-alongs that I am co-hosting or a part of. And then there's also a bunch of like spooky, like thriller type books I really want to get to this month. And it should be a really good month. There's a couple new releases that are also coming out that I am so ready for. So anyway, like I said, I'm very excited to talk about these books with you guys. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about all of the books I want to read in October. Alright guys, so starting out with books I'll be reading for different read-alongs. So first up we have the Monster Mash Readalong, which is taking place in the first 10 days of October. So this was created by Hannah Blackwell, and there's a bunch of other romance booktubers that are participating. I will leave all the information down in the description below. There's also a Monster Mash playlist that I will add down in the description if you're looking for different monster recommendations. Now, for this read-along, I have a very ambitious TBR. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of these. There are some I have to read because I'm reading them as part of a collab. But first off, we have Titan, and this is by Gillian Graves. I know very little about this book. I feel like I want to go into this pretty much blind. All I know is really from the cover. I've had some friends say this isn't their favorite by this author. I've had other friends say they absolutely adored this book, but I just believe this is a romance or a monster romance between a human and then a gargoyle. And I've never read anything like that. It sounds really interesting, so this will be the first book I read during that readathon. And then I also want to reread Black Sunshine by Karina Halley. This is a romance between a vampire and a witch, and I read this about 2 years ago and I absolutely loved it. But unfortunately, when I read this, only this first book was available via audio, so I never got to read the sequel, and I've been wanting to for years. So I'm going to reread Black Sunshine and then read the sequel, The Blood is Love. This was so kindly gifted to me from Nikki, from the channel Nikki in Bookland. So thank you so much. I've been wanting to pick up this book forever, and the audiobook is finally available. So I cannot wait to check this book out. And then last up is a novella. So this is Blood Moon, also by Gillian Graves, who's the same author that wrote the Titan book I was just talking about. And I believe this is a vampire romance. I got this recommended to me during the cover live show where me, Hannah Blackwell, Ava, and Tiff from Tiff Talks Pages all were just discussing different book covers and what we think about romance book covers. So maybe I'll leave that video or that live show linked down in the description below as well, just because that was such a fun live. But anyway, I'm very excited to read this. Now, if I don't get to this during the Monster Mash Readathon, I might pick this up for Novella-a-thon, which is another readathon. I'm not co-hosting, but I do plan on participating. So yeah, that should be really fun. But anyway, I want to read all of these monster romances. We'll see if I can actually do it. And next up is a fantasy romance that's been on my radar for a while. We have Curse of Shadows and Thorns, and this is by L.J. Andrews. So this is the Crow's book club pick for October. So Carrie from Booked for Romance, Tiff from Tiff Talks Pages, April from Happily Ever April, Hannah from Hannah Blackwell, and then Tori from Novel Life, and myself are going to be reading this book in October with a live show happening on my channel. I forget the date. I want to say October 20th, but I don't think that's right. I will leave the correct date down in the description below. But anyway, we're going to be reading this first book. I believe this is the first book in a 9-book series, but I know Carrie absolutely loved this book. I've had other people that have watched my channel tell me I need to pick this book up, so I'm so excited, and there is an audiobook for this that is available, so I will definitely be reading this in October for that live show, and hopefully I love it as much as Carrie, because it sounds so good. So we're following this girl named Elise. I believe she's the niece of the current king, and she is going to be forced to marry. Now, she does not want to get married. She's very happy just kind of living a civilian life. She's really not into going to galas and all of like the things that come with being part of the royal family. However, her uncle has said that she has to marry, so they end up going to this guy named Legion, who is kind of like a matchmaker of sorts. or he's like just the person in charge of kind of like setting up these royal marriages. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a relationship between Elsie and Legion, and then I think at some point he like loses his memories, and it goes from there. But anyway, I can't wait to pick this up, and definitely join us for that live show. And last up for read-alongs, we have Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. So this book has been on 3 consecutive TBRs, and I have yet to read it. However, I will definitely be reading it in October because myself and then Tori from Novel Life, Cheyenne from That's All Book Girl, and Nikki from Nikki and Bookland are currently hosting a read-along for the first 4 books in this series. And I need to pick this book up ASAP because I feel like it's going to take me a while to read this. But anyway, all I know about this is it's set in, I think, like a private high school that's in Ireland. And a lot of the main characters might play rugby. I really don't know. I just know that Tori and Nikki absolutely love this series. Cheyenne and myself are reading this for the first time, so hopefully we love it as much as them. And I've heard it's very emotional. I've had people messaging me on Instagram being like, have your tissues ready. So this should be really, really good. But anyway, like I said, we're reading the first 2 books for that live show, and it's happening on October 22nd on, I believe, Cheyenne's channel at 2 p.m. EST. I'll leave all the information down in the description below as well, just because I'm not positive. I really need to get better at looking up those things before sitting down to film, but it's fine. But anyway, and then we'll do the last 2 books, or the next 2 books, on Nikki's channel at some point in December. We haven't exactly picked a date yet, but I'm so excited to read this series, and I hope I absolutely love it. And the next 2 books are releasing in October. So first up we have A Curse of True Love by Stephanie Garber, which is the 3rd book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I'm obsessed with this YA fantasy romance series. It is so unbelievably good. If you have not read it yet, definitely pick it up. So if you're unfamiliar with the series, we are following Evangeline Fox, and in the first book, we're introduced to her, and this is the same author who wrote the Caraval series, so there are a lot of similarities and some Easter eggs if you have read that series. But anyway, Evangeline Fox is madly in love with her best friend. Unfortunately, her best friend is about to marry her stepsister, so Evangeline is unbelievably distraught. She ends up running and decides that she is going to make a deal with a fate. Now, it is known in this world, you do not make deals with fates. It always ends up badly. However, like I said, Evangeline is just so desperate that she ends up making a deal with Jax, the Prince of Broken Hearts. So Jax is a fate, and he says that he will stop the wedding to the guy she loves if Evangeline will promise Jack 3 kisses from 3 different men of his choosing. Evangeline agrees, and the story goes from there, and the romance in this book is everything. It is close to Farah and who she ends up with level of just angst and pining and you just wanting them to kiss already, and it's just so good. And the end of the last book, the cliffhanger, the ending was just absolutely insane. I really want to do a reread of the first 2 books. I don't know if I'm going to have time just with all my other reading commitments, but I love this series so much. So I believe A Curse of True Love is releasing on October 24th, and I'm probably going to read that book the day it releases. I'm just so excited. So anyway, like I said, if you have not read the series yet, definitely do so and try to finish it before October 24th so you're ready for that new release. And next up we have A Fire in the Flesh by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 3rd book in the Flesh and Fire prequel series, which is the prequel series for From Blood and Ash. So this, like I said, is book 3. I believe this was supposed to be the final book. However, J-Law has recently announced that she's going to be expanding the series. I'm not sure how many more are going to be coming out. I know at least 1 more. But yeah. So I've had a lot of you message and comment requesting that I do a Light in the Flame recap. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm going to do my absolute best for you guys. The only thing is, that was my least favorite book by J-Law, I think, ever. It was so tedious to get through that book. And the ending was amazing, and I absolutely loved it. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to reread that book and put out a video before the next book comes out. But like I said, I will do my best. I'm going to try. We're just going to have to see. But I'm really sorry if that doesn't end up happening. But anyway, if you're unfamiliar with the prequel series for From Blood and Ash, we are following Nyktos and Seraphina, Nyktos being the god of death, and Seraphina being the first girl that is given over to him. And I totally forget the first maiden ever. So it's taking place thousands of years before From Blood and Ash. And so far it's been really fun. I absolutely love Daddy Nyktos. He is like one of my favorites characters throughout the entire series, as well as Reaver. So I am very excited to read the next book, and hopefully I will be able to do a reread and a recap video for you guys. And next up, I really want to read Hopeless by Elsie Silver. So this is book 5 in the Chestnut Spring series, and I recently binged Heartless, Powerless, and Reckless in 2.5 days while I was on vacation. I'm obsessed with cowboy romances now, which is so funny because I hated them at the beginning of the year. So I read Flawless, which is the first book in that series, and I rated it like 2.75 to 3. I really was not a fan of that first book, but oh my gosh, Heartless is perfection. I think it's my favorite age gap romance ever written. It is just, they're dynamic and the banter, it has the perfect amount of humor, comedy. This is turning into me just describing Heartless. But anyway, I'm loving this series so far and cannot wait to check out Hopeless. So like I said, the audiobook is releasing, I believe, October 13th, and that is another book I'm probably going to be reading the day it releases just because of how much I am absolutely loving this series. And next up, we have The Cult by Penelope Sky. So I've never read anything else by this author, but this is described as a dark romantic thriller, which sounds perfect for October, so I really wanted to give it a try. So I believe this is following a dancer, and she ends up being stalked by this evil cult, and no one believes her, and it kind of goes from there. So it is the first book in a duology. I'm going to see how I feel about this first book before I pick up the second, because I'm getting better at not just buying entire series before I read the first book. But like I said, it sounds really good and perfect for the season. And next up we have Scream For Us by Molly Doyle. So this is another author I've never read before, but I saw this cover floating around last year and I really wanted to pick it up. I just know it's a very dark, spicy time, so it should be pretty good. I do plan on picking this up for the novella-a-thon, like I said, that is taking place right after the Monster Mash Readathon. But I don't know, it sounds really good. It's apparently like super, super spicy, and I think it does have some like suspense elements, and it's a novella, so it should just be like a fast, fun time. So anyway, that's another book I will be reading in October. And next up is a shifter romance. So we have Obsession. I know a few of my friends, I think, did a read-along for this series and really enjoyed it. So I'm intrigued. Hopefully I like this. Shifter romances are very hit or miss with me. I have read some that I've absolutely loved. Sanctum by, I think, Hannah McBride. And then I recently read Rabid by Ivy Asher and Raven Kennedy, and that book is so good. So I'm hoping I love this. I know this is following, I think it's like a school or a graduate college, and we're following this shifter who ended up, I think, leaving their pack and they're like looking for a fresh start. But I do want to read the blurb from Amazon just because I think this part is like really funny. It says, "Warning, this book is not for the faint of heart. It contains an obsessive stalker, a foul-mouthed, inked and pierced werewolf, a naughty professor with a fondness for watching, a god of mischief, and plenty of heat. If you don't like your book spicy, your men broody, built, and more bad than good, then this is not a series for you. But if you do, read on and welcome to the Mate Games." So, like I said, this sounds like a book I'm going to absolutely love, and I cannot wait to pick it up. And last up, we have Baby and the Late Night Howlers, and honestly, I only picked this because of the cover. I just think it looks like super old school, and I absolutely loved it. But this is another shifter romance, and I think this is also like a why choose shifter romance, where we're following this female werewolf, or an Omega, and she ends up, I think, being claimed by a biker gang of werewolves, and it goes from there. But that's all I really need to know. I think it's going to be really good. There is a shifter term I recently learned about. If you watch that live show, you know what I mean, and I know this book has a lot of that, so I guess I'm gonna get real comfortable with that act. Okay. If you're familiar with shifter romances, you probably know what it is, but I didn't know what it was, and I was just like, oh.
Wait, now I
For
know.
what? What was it?
KNOT.
Oh, not him.
I was just like, what? What is happening?
You didn't know what that was?
Have you never read that
honey,
before?
get ready for it for our...
In this book, I feel like there's only like 5 people that actually know what I'm talking about. That's totally okay. But anyway, there's apparently a lot of that in this book. Apparently it's super, super spicy, and I cannot wait to read it. Alright guys, those are all the books I plan on reading in October. Hopefully I get to them all. And please let me know if you're reading any of the books I mentioned, and what book are you most looking forward to reading in October. I love getting recommendations from you guys. And I hope you join us for all the different read-alongs and readathons. I'm so excited for this month. Like I said, it's October, it is fall, it is perfection. But anyway, I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye!